Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Night Owl Season 5, Round 3 here at Kyalami. I'm Jesse Lee here with Ryan Mawson and special broadcaster getting out of the driver's seat for today's events, none other than Mike Jones. Midway into the season now, night racing on the cards all season long. Ryan Mawson, it's been an entertaining and at sometimes perplexing championship thus far, and the results of practice, as you can see on the screen, is only adding to that.
Yes, and to add to that, each time the pit strategies and each week we have a different pit stop requirements, which has really started to definitely mix up the field and throw some spanners into the works of the nice strategies that people had here. But Kyalami, what a track to come back to in the night. The view from the top of that hill is absolutely lovely, looking over Johannesburg and Cape Town and all that. Not that you've got long to admire the view plunging down the hill in your GT3 car with a low 140 lap time at this incredibly cold for South Africa as well. And I expect this to be one hell of a race looking at the practice board. There's so many different cars. There's so many cars that seem to be very, very strong here, very suited to Kyalami. So I'm expecting one hell of a race up the front of the field.
Well, folks, you know it's a crazy championship whenever your championship leader hasn't won a race in pro. Well, that is what has occurred here. Perhaps the most consistent driver in silver, Benjamin Heilman, otherwise known as Stewie. He, of course, has won a race this season, but even still, he finds himself not in full control of the championship, though he does lead it. We will see these championship standings after the conclusion of qualifying. But either way, it is going to be interesting. Chris Vining, by the way, we talked a lot about him the last couple of weeks. He is leading this session. We'll have to see how much that's worth, but he is leading this session. And again, like you said, another spanner in the works. It could be if Vining emerges the dominant one today. Qualifying, a whole different animal. Do you think we get in the 139s?
It could be possible. It is an incredibly hard feat to achieve, but we have seen drivers do it before in the likes of the esports and some of the crazy hot lappers. When you take the temps all the way down, and if people really start to push and maybe have that qualifying setup that gives it just that little bit more edge, it's possible. But for Chris Viney, he'll definitely want to hang on to that. And like his team name says, the where will I bin it this week? Hopefully nowhere, as we saw. He didn't exactly have the most stellar race at Spa. Didn't go to all the way in the 101 Ferrari, but looking incredibly strong today. And Benjamin Heilman in that 24, you can see how some cars really, really love this circuit. The Porsche being able to just dart around everywhere is just fantastic. And for likes like this Lexus for Payne, only 4 temps off, and in fact that's an improvement up to 3 temps off the provisional pole. The speed down that long front straightaway, you can just see it munch cars coming out.
Well, a very technical circuit is Kyalami in South Africa, but for some reason, despite its length and variety of corner types, it does cause a lot of teams to run within that 1 second bracket. We've got about 13 to 15 cars that are all sort of in that, and quite humorously, head steward in chat, Tom Bryant says, so when are we moving Benjamin Heilman up to pro? Well, if he continues like he is doing, I would make the argument he should be there next week, but I'm being told by race management that if he does this season at this pace, it will be an automatic bump up to pro. But I'm in favor of doing it next week. If he's able to put it on the overall podium this week, it's a little ridiculous. He says that he doesn't have, or he feels like he doesn't have the consistency to be a pro. But I'm telling you, Ryan, you saw it too. The statistics show otherwise.
Yeah, we've seen Harmon in that Porsche really do great things. I think where he thinks that his consistency is down is there's just 1 or 2 sort of problem tracks that we've seen. But that is kind of Porsche life. The Porsche can be a phenomenal race car when it's on its day, but if you take it to a track where it is not happy on, you can count your race, dead and buried. It's such an up and down car. It's one of the less consistent over a season track depending. Whereas if you pick a car like an Aston Martin, you're always going to do okay, but you'll maybe not excel. You pick a Porsche, you take it to Nürburgring, Kyalami, any Laguna Seca, you will excel because it's just that kind of car. It is fully handling based, and if you really trust it, really get on with that rear end, which is so many drivers don't, and they shy away from the challenge. I think that's where a lot of the consistency is. But as you say we'll see over the season. I think next year though, he'll be wearing that white banner with pride.
Well, the other thing we want to talk about as qualifying gets underway. All the drivers released in qualifying, pro and silver, 15 minutes to set a lap. Mike Jones, who was taking place in this championship, currently 11th in the silver standings, has pulled himself out of the car to bring this broadcast to you today. Otherwise, it just wouldn't have been possible. And we do thank Mike Jones for his sacrifice, but well, it's nice to have him in. It's nice to have him in the booth. For those of you keeping score at home, if you may be playing a drinking game of sorts, that was the first bonk that we have received of the evening. Do enjoy yourselves. We hope that you're all well on this wonderful Saturday evening. And of course, the other members of our crew that we have yet to introduce is, of course, the third race in this championship with live stewarding, brand new this season to have a live stewarding team. So we thank them for their time and consideration as well. And they, Ryan Mawson, got an absolute workout yesterday.
Oh yeah, last race as well. I think they were begging for mercy, which, as we said, we thought that race was quite clean from what we were seeing from our broadcast monitors. But in the background, the stewards were not happy and were dishing out plenty of the penalties that we'd seen coming up. And like I said, I think the amount of paper that we got received on our desks for that race. But Spa does often become the kind of two races that I ever noticed at Spa. You have the really boring ones where everyone spreads out and plays a game of staring at each other, and the ones where everything is crazy, and last week's was definitely crazy. Kyalami is a little bit more open. People have got a bit more space to play with. But a lot of the corners seem to have multiple lines, especially like this corner at the bottom. This hairpin here, I've seen people take multiple lines. We've gone 2-3 wide before, and people still manage to come out the other side all right. And coming up to the first lap, Savalainen in the 100 AMG, a car that maybe might not be as sharp as he would like it today. The AMG does kind of struggle at Kyalami, we've noticed. And coming across the line, that's a 140.8, is immediately knocked off by Heilmann with a 140.6. So you can see the Porsche, even on the first flyer, is really gunning for it.
Yeah, you talk about the lines in Chichita. There really is not a general consensus. I would love to hear what the Driver 61 group have to say about Cheetah, what the proper line through that corner is, because to my knowledge, there isn't really one that really matters more than others. Certainly the whole point of getting around a corner or an apex is to maximize, the time that you're on the throttle or not on the brakes, and speed, obviously, effectively through the corner. But I feel like there's so many different ways through there. Quite frankly, there's more lines through Cheetah than there are at a Red Hot Chili Peppers concert. Benjamin Heilmann leading the field right now, 40.614. Savalainen second. Sizek comes into third. Just as I say that, Payne, I always want to call him Max Payne because his name is M. Payne. And well, I know his name is Max Payne, Mike Jones, but I can't do it without laughing. The 966 Lexus in there, 2/10 off the overall pace. And Mawson, I got to say, you've done a lot of mixed class racing in your day. Would it frustrate you as a pro being behind a silver driver? Be honest.
Be honest, maybe a smidge, but you kind of have to realize that sometimes is that there will always be that one guy faster than you And if you sort of focus on that, throughout the whole time, it can really like get in your head and it can really start to ruin your race. You've just got to sometimes think, right, well, okay, they are silver, but that means that, maybe they don't have the race consistency, maybe they don't have the race pace, and maybe they will fall off at the next track. You've just got to keep your head down and keep going. But for this specific silver, which is Benjamin Heilman, yeah, he's kind of showing exactly what he can do. And we theorized about that 139 lap time. Well, that was an improvement for Heilman that last go around. That's a 140.278. We are tantalizingly close to that 39. And with that 100 in front of Savalainen, might just give a tiny bit of slipstream from the places that need it.
What's the most incredible thing to me so far is Chris Vining, who was so fast in practice, down in 13th, 1 second off the pace. But Heilman
Ooh.
currently leads, and there was a car that was having issues in front of Benjamin Heilman. That will cause a reset. We're going to catch a replay, and I think maybe Heilman was reacting to this car in front of him. Let's ride on. Oh, yes, he was. He was. That's the thing, and it may be appropriate because Heilman's German, but he was following the gumdrops to the gingerbread house, I think, there a little bit, and got caught up in it. It's so easy to do in the dark. This is the car I want to talk about. Tyler Jason LaValle, who has yet to put up points in this championship. I don't think he finished the first race, and I'm pretty sure he wasn't here last week, but the Team PSR driver has come back in race 3 with a vengeance and is less than a tenth off the overall pace. That's excellent stuff. And this man here, talk about the Pro Series Championship. Alex Rogers doing a great job for a third week in a row here.
Yeah, that 119 really starting to look incredibly competitive. And that 35 of Jason LaValle, what a race to come back to, where the Audi, we've seen it before in a lot of our endurance races. How strong can that car be? It is an absolute monster around some of this.
Well, if you were with us last night, I promised you some juicy night out drama, and we have that for you. Cormac Ryan Meenan, who received a penalty a race ago in a very rare move. I think it's only happened 2 or 3 times in the history of RCI. That penalty was rescinded by the head steward in the steward's office. So there was a penalty for basically not slowing down or continuing to gun it and course cut in Radion. There were 2 cars in front of him that were having a incident, and a penalty was given to Cormac Ryan Meenan for hitting the gas, going around the incident, and not slowing down, adhering to a local yellow flag. That penalty was reviewed post race, and it was ultimately decided that that decision would be reversed and it would be knocked down to just a warning for not slowing down for yellow waved flags. So the time penalty gone. Cormac gets his position back, which means he gets more points, which also means Ryan Mawson, he gets to further pursue this championship now.
Yeah, that will mean that he actually won the Spa race. It'd be a nice feeling and a bit of a sad feeling for Samir Foch, who did so well in that Bentley last week. We saw what that Bentley could do race pace wise at Spa, and it will be wanting to climb himself back up. And we've just noticed on our
I love it.
Nathan McConnell, the R. Mawson fan club. I know why he's done this. This is the man in the 23 who has decided to pick me as his teammate for an upcoming race that we've got. And I think that the man is a bit of a lunatic for that. He's picked one of the wildest pro drivers. I'm either doing well or in the wall. So hats off to you, McConnell. You crazy person. And no,
I love that.
Hopefully, I don't have to drive the Lamborghini. Please, can we drive something else? The BMW looks really nice. Let's say the last time I drove the Lamborghini, I ended up backwards in the wall at the top of Radion, thinking, "How did I get here?" So yeah. that was a interesting day in the driving seat.
Well, Ryan Mawson's a very nice guy, but privately, we've had conversations about the Lamborghini and particularly his adventures in the car. And well, let's just say
It,
none of the comments were good.
it
None of them were particularly positive.
it means that you can tell each Ryan apart though, and that the Ryan and Ryans can lock heads if we go against cars though, because you have Lambo Ryan, who is Lambo fan until he dies, and then you have Bentley Ryan, who hates Lamborghini.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't. I would love to see that now that I think about it. I would love to see the anti Lamborghini team versus the Lamborghini fan club. But, well, speaking of other references to RCI members, the hashtag pipes out for Nick team. Benjamin Heilman leading as overall, even though they are a silver driver. The next nearest one is Norton down in 8th place in that number 12 Honda. Nice to every time we come here, the Hondas have pretty decent pace, and I don't know how they've been affected over the past 6 months by BOP, but a little bit wide there out of the final corner was Heilman. But the ICGT tracks always seem to be kind to said Honda. Heilman leading over LaValle, Rogers, Savalainen, and Asasek in the top 5. Magazi, Madre, Vining is only up to 8th. Ryan Mawson, what's happened to that Ferrari?
Well, yeah, it's a very strange one. That Ferrari looks so prominent in the practice session. I am wondering though, how many of those drivers were on quali fuel and how many were on the race fuel. But with it being so cold, the Ferrari, the front end on that does take quite a while for those tires to heat and grip up. So it means if you've had one or two invalid laps or you've had a problem you need to adjust, it does take quite a while for that car to come back on song before you can really start throwing it in. But looking at it, Chris Vining is actually trending up around about a 10th coming out of the final corner. He was up much more before coming down to Mineshaft, but will it move him up into the bigger battle? It will moving up to P6, just outside of that top 5, but he's still got about, well, at least 2 laps to go if he's got the fuel for it.
Well, I've just been alerted that Sim Racing Royalty has joined us in chat. Brothers Hugo. Hello, Hugo. Hope you are good on this Saturday evening. And we hope you stick around and watch the race. It's going to be very interesting. We've got so many cars basically on top of one another. And, well, we talked about it earlier. Actually, you talked about it, Mawson, earlier, that typically when this happens, it's a busy day for the stewards, and it also will likely involve a lot of close quarters racing. Kyalami, of course, a track where you can really get your elbows out and race, folks. And I don't think we're going to be seeing anything but that tonight. Cormac Ryan Meenan, who officially now the winner of the last round at Spa, trying to get up inside the top 10, not going their way, but still trying very hard. You can see how hard they're driving that Aston off of some of these corners, getting it plumb sideways. But either way, Cormac trying to improve now through Leah Kopp, and now the run down into Mine Shaft and then Cheetah. We saw, I think it was, yes, one of our members there. And yes, Crocodiles and then Cheetah, of course. But saw in chat some of the suggestions on how to run through Cheetah, or Crocodile rather. And the final turn here that I can never remember the name of, Ryan.
Yeah, I can't actually remember what the last turn is. Generally, it's the one that I call track limits annoyance, because you see so many drivers who want to run out. There's like this lovely, nice runoff to the left. What you do is you aim the car out, you squirt the throttle, and then you realize that you have invalidated your lap on the last corner. And the amount of times that I have done that personally, I think if I had £1 for every time I'd done that, I could probably buy myself a sign that told me not to do that.
Ingwe, the name of the last corner, as pointed out by Mike behind the camera. It really slaps Jones. And Ingwe's the only turn on this track that I have issues remembering the name of. Turn one's my favorite, just called the Kink. Actually, my favorite turn on this track, Sunset, but you get the picture. Qualifying, ending all flying laps will count. Benjamin Heilman in the pit lane will take no further part. Savalainen doing the same thing. Rogers and LaValle are still out on the track, and so is Vining and the lot, and they are coming to the line now. I think that's the 888 of Samir Foch, your championship leader, that will lead the group to the line here. Ingwe and onto the front straight as more cars continue to pile into the pit lane. Will this be an improvement for the 888? It is. Samir Foch makes Asasek bumped down to seventh. Foch in sixth place. Chris Vining will be next across the line, and that will be P5 for Chris Vining. The 427 abandons their lap, resets to the pit lane. A couple of more cars coming in. Sizek in pit lane now. Pierce, one of the few cars left out inside the top 20. The only car, in fact, out inside the top 20, crosses the line there. And that will be the end of qualifying. A silver driver, Benjamin Heilman, will lead the field to green. Roger Savalainen, the podium positions. LaValle will share the second row. Behind them, Vining and Foch, Asasek and Norton, Pearson, Magazi, the top 10.
Look at how many cars that we've got. The top 20 are all within 1 second. In fact, you had to go all the way down until P20. It was P21, the first car that dipped outside of a second. The amount of cars that we've got and the variety we've got. Porsche leads Aston Martin, leads AMG, leads Audi, Ferrari, Bentley, McLaren, Honda, and then you start getting some of the repeats. All those cars race so differently. This is going to be absolutely amazing. And no one holds a full purple lap. Heilman holds the middle. Ben Norton holds the first sector, and Madre in the 199 he holds the third.
Well, Benjamin Heilman telling us privately that he could have done a 39 there, Mawson, but seems to have lost it some point on that lap. But very well pointed out that nobody holds the same or all the sectors. Everybody has their own sectors that they were fast in. I would have been really impressed had the Porsche held sectors 3 or 1, considering the length of the straightaway and the relative lack of horsepower in the Porsche.
Yeah, I'm kind of more interested that we haven't seen some of the crazy speed cars like the Lexus. I thought they would have definitely hold sector one for sure. But obviously, by the time that you've gone through all the twisties of what is turn 2, 3, 4, the Lexus just losing out a little bit. But in the race, when you've filled up these cars with a full tank of race fuel, that's really going to change the matters.
Well, here are your championship points, and they are as follows. This is after 2 of 5 rounds. Samir Foch, who hasn't won a race this season, he did get credited with the win last week, but that was later reversed when the penalty of Cormac Ryan Meenan was reversed. So Samir ended up finishing second and fourth so far, but that's good enough to lead the championship 109. Savalainen on 97. Chris Vining in third place with 89. And then it's an absolute log jam with Rogers and Sizek inside the top 5 sharing fourth place. Williams, Renoir, Payne, Makazi, and Backerden all inside the top 10. Then the second page here, these are the drivers that could see a huge benefit from running today. Cormac Ryan Meenan on this championship points does not have points. I promise you he has 65 and would be on the first page. So just imagine that. But Asasek, the 64 Zubek, Mondre, Alari, all at the back end with some amount of points, but any sort of massive points gained today could see them jump really high up into the first page. Of course, we talked about Cormac Ryan Mean and Tyler Jason LaValle also will likely score points today, and nobody else has points. Well, we talked about the pros. Let's talk about the silvers, where it is fight on as well. Benjamin Heilman leads Thomas Pierce just by a handful of points. I think about, what is that, about 12 between them. Nathan McConnell in third place with 92. And we see basically what has happened in pro repeated here, a logjam with Ben Norton, Zabo, Edwards, Flamger, Leeds, Dorsey, and Audi, all very close indeed. And with those having just about 20 points or so between them, you can imagine much the same here. Mike Jones in 11th. We talked about him having to take time out of his racing schedule to broadcast the race today. And that will mean some of these drivers will move up. Galaniski behind them with Renandito, Anderson, Daly are the ones that have points so far in the championship. Well, it's very close. I don't know what we necessarily expected after 2 rounds, but we promise you it's a little bit more interesting than that, folks, simply because there's no general consensus on who's the best yet, Mawson.
Not yet. We haven't really had one sort of solid person who's really ran away with it. As you says, a lot of times we've had different winners, and even the silver and the pro class is still being mixed up, and might even see a bit more of a shuffle up today as everyone gets their lights on at Kyalami. And we talked about the strategy. We talked about how this championship we're having different pit stop requirements each time. Today's is one mandatory stop, but you only have to take 1 liter of fuel. So you will have to come down that pit lane at some point, but that means that if your car is good on tires, you can just run them out. Do people go full tanks? Do they split the race in half? I expect that some of the cars like Bentleys and the other great endurance cars, probably the Porsche as well, will just be full tanking it and run it until it's completely empty and do a stop and drop at the end. But for some of the cars like the AMG, possibly the Lexus, we might have to they might have to split it. And actually, reading my notes a little bit carefully, I have to get my glasses on. There is a pit window, so yeah, there you go. It'll be a split race, which means that people like the running in the Mercedes and the Lexus, they're going to be happy about that. It means you can only run half a tank.
Well, of course, every night owl season has its own set of regulations, requirements, and quirks. Well, today is definitely going to be a curveball for them. They have a pit window. That's not uncommon. What is uncommon, however, is that in a 1 hour race, they will have 10 minutes to come in to pit. So there will be strategy based on if you come in early or late. And I'm sure that will all be determined by where you are in the field and how your race has gone. So only 10 minutes in the middle of the race to get your pit stop done and dusted. But that, of course, just one of the many additives this season. Of course, Night Owl Season 5 taking place completely in the dark. No lights other than the ones by the track and, of course, your headlights. Of course, Kyalami, not the most dark track on the circuit. There is some ambient light around, but it also isn't even close to some of the more lit up circuits. And there certainly are some blind corners. We saw pole sitter Benjamin Heilman follow a car off into the dirt earlier, no doubt aided by the fact that couldn't necessarily see what was up in front of him. So as we get ready, the driver's coming through Mine Shaft and into the Crocodiles. I will ask the all-important question to Ryan Mawson. Does silver driver Benjamin Heilman win overall today?
The Porsche is incredibly good, but it's also, I've driven this here at a race, it is incredibly easy to make a mistake in that car. And if you just clip one corner wrong, the S is an incredibly brave corner. You're fighting the weight transfer of the Porsche there already. And then you're also fighting down this long straight. You're fighting the top speed deficit that you have versus a lot of the other cars. If you can keep it ahead, we've seen some great defensive driving from him before. If you can keep it ahead after the end of lap one, I'd say that he's going to do very well. But coming up to the line now, 2x2, he's got the big 6.3 behind him. The Aston Martin, the Audi and the Ferrari, they're going to have an absolute feast on this straight.
And the green lights come on, the flag is waved, and we are green. And not a great start for the Aston as the cars behind the Audi attempt to pull out. Tyler Jason LaValle making short work around the outside and just about clears. And into second place is Tyler Jason LaValle, 3 wide. In behind them, 4 or 5 rows deep. Even more so in the back. I don't see any local yellows. Everybody has made it through the turn 1, 2, and 3 complex into 4, and now down the straightaway into Sunset. Positions changing hands, and everybody trying to find the inside of the circuit here. And a move into Sunset. Contact there is going to send the McLaren off the track and beats them there in Sunset. That is the first major incident of the race. And oh dear, that is a very difficult thing to have to overcome, the 67 of Asasek being spun in Sunset.
Yeah, the Triple Eight just looking up the inside of Sunset. But that big Bentley, there was just not the gap there to be. The 67 ends up well off the track into the gravel, gets the car going again. A sad start to their race, to see what they can do if they can bring it back with a bit of strategy play.
Oh my goodness! I'm sorry to interrupt you. I don't know what car that was, but they went head on into the wall, Ryan Mawson.
Which car was that? I'm trying to look at my sheet. I couldn't see. I don't
know if I saw what I saw. Oh no, Ben Norton's gonna spin by themselves.
That was Cheetah. Just one touch and it will do that to you.
Oh, you got to be so careful with the safe rejoin into Ingwe. And it gets done. How many times have we seen that come undone? Let's reset. Benjamin Heilman leads. Tyler Jason LaValle, who jumped everybody on the outside of turn 2, getting that position. Savalainen and Rogers and Vining in the top 5. Vining, who qualified 5th, holds on to that position, which is really great considering they looked like they had immense speed, but didn't necessarily get to show that in qualifying. But they are there threatening for the 4th place position. A couple of cars have went off. Asasek was sent into Sunset, and I'm pretty sure somebody was sent at the top of the hill, unless that was some sort of magic that was going on. And I just want to say I am reading chat here, and I support all of the comments in chat. I would love to see more ZA representation in Night Owl.
Yeah, well, when Night Owl was started, it was for people sort of that and the Americans and all that. And what it ended up being was all the Europeans who just have insomnia. It was like we have all the Germans and the British like me who we decided that, sleep schedules are for normal people, and we are not normal people. We are racing drivers.
Well, the 577 of Zubek is running shotgun on the field. I think we've lost one of the cars at some point, but I cannot fully confirm that. I think somebody might have reset it. Either that or, again, there was some sort of net code shenanigans going on. No shenanigans going on up front here. Heilman has Tyler Jason LaValle all over him, and now looking down to the inside, can't quite get it under braking, and they have to sort it out. Meanwhile, Alex Rogers here fighting Savalainen for the 4th place position, and it looks like he may have a shot here. Or excuse me, this is for the 3rd place position. Oh, and very close stuff indeed. Savalainen shuts the door and keeps that door shut for a moment. And look behind them, the Ferrari of Chris Vining, looking to play spoiler and benefit out of others' misfortune. No pass being done yet, as Rogers has to have a little bit of a rethink. Gets a little loose there, in fact. And that will do nothing but help Vining get ever so much closer. Behind them, this group has caught up as well. Fosh Magazi are together here now.
the two massive Bentleys trying to bully their way through the pack. Just like I said, when you are, I mean, it's not even driver in the middle anymore. You're driver in the train. You go for a move, you open the door. We've seen it where, you know, they've nearly lost 2, 3, 4 positions in one move that didn't come off. But looking through the field as well, the one that I'm really interested to see, I think that 35, that Tyler Jason Lavallee Audi, we saw how much that Audi's picked up and really ran with it in race pace. The Hondas as well, Jordan Daly, he's now starting to attack a leader in front of the 13, so those Hondas are really doing it. It's a touch into Cheetah and keeps the car straight. That is an incredibly scary moment when you touch that curb, because you are then fully a passenger. With the mid-engined Honda, it is usually just a complete spin. You can see the sausage curb, you can't go near it. Bolts it into the gravel and doesn't really lose too much time. Loses some positions, but, you know, a couple of positions lost versus into the wall with damage. Yeah, I'll take the positions lost.
Yeah, Daly will be lucky for that. That can go a lot worse than losing a position or two. He'll count his lucky stars and continue on. And Daly, if you are watching this on repeat later, just know that your teammate Mike Jones cursed you there, because he cut to you right as you had that little sort of mishap. So that was all Mike Jones there. Rogers continuing to try and get around Savalainen, though the gap has stabilized just a little bit, and looked like there was a pass that was imminent that did not occur, and this whole group got stacked up. That all being said, though, mind you, they are still all together. Cormac Ryan Meenan has found his way inside the top 10, the winner from a week ago after a finish, or after a review was finished. And now Cormac, we talked about Foch and Magazi. Well, Madre and Cormac Ryan Meenan are part of that battle now. That battle is for third, and he's ninth.
Yeah, and that battle is almost, they're just over a second. I'd say that less than 2 seconds separate this entire battle. Look at what we can see going down the straight, and it's not actually that far behind before there's even another mini train starting to form. The 100 being the essentially the cork in the bottle for every one of these drivers, and everyone just playing it very safe and very sort of calm and collected at the minute. People want a move, but I think that they're going to start waiting until that pit window starts to open, and then I expect to see some moves. I think at the minute, people are actually just pacing themselves.
For all of you South Africans in chat, by the way, I have had a braibriki, and it was absolutely fantastic. The last time we were here and we were talking about food, I hadn't done, but I have now, and it was fantastic. I don't think I made it right, but beside that, it was absolutely fantastic. Samir Foch and now Chris Vining going at it for that position. And of course, every time you do get side by side, Vining's going to go wide here. This could invite a bit of, yeah, there's definitely something going on with that car, the 101. That car's not, it doesn't seem to be settled. I don't know what's going on there. They're losing positions now, or potentially doing so. Yeah, there's something wrong with that car. That car should not be acting like that.
That car is twitching all over the place. Looking at it though, it still looks fairly under control of it. Oh, the 34
that's going to be contact with Magazi.
That's Magazi round at the bottom. Continues going, but like I said, that 101 just looking like they're losing more and more time. The Porsche going around the outside. That is the 199 of Madre becoming the great victor in this. Read the traffic and goes, wham bam, thank you man, I'll take all these positions and run away with it. But the 101, very strange to see that car just lose so much pace all of a sudden. So they're going to go for the move into turn one.
Oh no, and he's going to turn Madre. The 199 is going to get spun into turn two. That will probably upset the stewards and upset Madre.
That'll very much upset Madre. He was the great victor in all of that. Thought that he's the position is done and dusted, and that he's going to have a nice race. But you can see the Porsche doesn't have the speed down the straight. The 101 looks to the inside. The door is attempted to be closed, and the 199 just managing to spin around. Actually misses everyone there. So all those drivers did well to avoid him. coming around the corner to a car stopped in the middle of the track is probably the worst thing as a driver. You just don't know where to go.
So this is a replay here. We're going to show you exactly what happened here. That couple of contacts there, and it has not been a great lap or so. And here's some more. We're going to show you just going wide here was the 101. And then, of course, in the S's, you can't really do that. And contact and Rogers trying to find their way through. But yeah, that's a couple of contacts there, and that car doesn't look right. Chris Vining in the 101. It's twitchy. It certainly didn't look like that in practice or qualifying, or indeed the start of this race. So you have to wonder: is there some sort of mechanical issue that the driver of the number 101 is dealing with now?
It could be possible, or a tire problem. I mean, we're all the way down at 14C now. If you push on these tires incredibly hard, the 2019s, they don't really come back to you if you grain them. Once they're gone, that's your grip kind of gone. The 2020s sometimes will give you a little bit of something back, but the 2019s, once they're gone, they're gone. We'll have to keep an eye on the 101 if when he pits, if he takes tires. If he does not, and then the car continues to act up. But if he does take tires and the car stops acting up, then we'll know that for certain. But for an hour race where you don't have to take tires, I don't think that driver is going to.
Well, you know us here at RCI, we're not one to call people out unless they're staff members here, but I'm going to do that in this case. Cormac Ryan Meenan, by the way, who, of course, is right in front of Magazi now, all the way, not only inside the top 10, but inside the top 5, perhaps the biggest beneficiary of everything that took place with the 101 now inside the top 5. And we don't normally call people out, but I am going to do in this case. Russ 31 mentioned earlier, this is some very clean racing, never seen anything like this. And then immediately all of that happens. So Russ, we're blaming you.
Yeah, we can't say that your commentators cursed it. We chat cursed it. That is what happened. Chat spoke, and their powers overshadowed us.
Well, I don't know where to get started. Of course, the pit requirement for this race, random every race. They don't know it until the race server goes live an hour before the race starts. And in this case, it is 1 liter of fuel, but the extra catch is they only have 10 minutes to do it in the middle of the race. Ryan Mawson, are you going to be the first into the pit lane to get your stop done, or do you want to wait as long as possible?
If I was in the middle of one of these sort of great trains that we've got forming, I would want to be in early to then get out, run some laps at a pace where you're not being dictated by the car in front, and then try and undercut the person. But if I'm Benjamin Heilman, who's run out in P1 with this racer, we thought that Lavallee might have caught him with that 35, but so far he's pulled a 0.6 of a second gap. Not the biggest gap in the world, but it's enough at the minute. I would be going long. Here we go. Mike Jones has only just seen the team name of this. Thomas Pierce, the mom getting a night light. We have mentioned this car a couple of times, haven't we, before, Jesse? Currently running in P3 in silver as well, actually, even though he's 12.
Yeah, it's nice to know that these teams and drivers take sim racing completely seriously, isn't it? I always said that it doesn't matter if you're a sim racer or a real racer. You're prone to being a bit. What's the word I'm looking for here? You're a bit of a jokester, a bit of a trickster. You got to have a certain attitude to do what all of us do, don't you? And we all sort of get along because of that, I reckon, as well. Well, not all of us get along. We frequently have disputes over very small amounts of real estate into a corner, don't we? But beside that, it is a very fun hobby to do. But for Tom Oddie, going well here, 4th in class, 14th overall, trying to fight the 199. I can guarantee you the 199 didn't reckon that they'd be fighting Tom Oddie, and I guarantee you Oddie didn't think that he'd be fighting Madre.
No, absolutely. And if I think for Madre, it's now a bit of a recovery drive. He's just trying to get back through the pack as quick as he can. We've seen that the 199, when he was given the opportunity, he managed to take it and make the best out of a situation that was unfolding in front of him. So I think that car will slowly claw its way back up through the field. And for Tom Otte's, yeah, just gotta keep it on the road for now. And if any sort of opportunities as they would present to him, then I think that 69 will be there to capitalize on it.
Well, this race continuing on. Benjamin Heilman, by the way, has pulled out a 1.1 second lead on Tyler Jason LaValle. Samir Foch in third place, solidly so, 3 seconds behind LaValle, and 1.3 behind them is Savalainen, who has pulled a significant gap, at least for the time being. Cormac Ryan Meenan in fifth, 3.5 back. Now, the reason I mention all that is not only to keep you abreast of what's going on inside the top five, but Cormac Ryan Meenan, who started way down the order, is in the top five. Will it be a Ryan Meenan standard performance where they motor their way to the front? Keep that gap in mind. 3.5, the second gap there. Of course, Cormac had a very difficult day at Silverstone in the Friday championship, the summer championship going on Friday. And well, his brother Killian had a great day, but Cormac, who spent the first half of the race racing with his brother, or against his brother, I should say, had a disastrous second half of the race and frustrating day. It's going a lot better for him here. Magazi, of course, just behind just behind Ryan Meenan, and here is Jordan Daly, who we saw have that little bit of a moment earlier, has gotten back onto the horse, and now leader in front of him, who he's racing, missed the corner there a little bit and allowed Daly to get back close to him. And Mike Jones just reminds me that they have named their team the Bring It Home Racing, or Bennett Home Racing if you take the R and the G out of it. And we just can't have one race here where we don't mention the Euro Cup, I reckon.
No, I think it's gonna be everywhere you look, isn't it? And even Alex Rogers, the 119, has renamed his team to It's Coming Home. I feel that this car's actually had and this car almost had a new name each time. That team must be swamped in paperwork with all the team name changes. I know that I won't be doing all of that. There's far too much paperwork involved. If there's more than one page, I'm not interested in it, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's just say I am going to be very interested to see after Euro Cup final what these team names are going to look like. And it could go one of two ways, obviously. And I'm gonna be delighted either way, I bet.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that we'll have plenty more giggles to come. I'm sure, because we still got over half a season. There's plenty of time for people to come up with some interesting names. And swapping back to the front of the field, Benjamin Heilman still leading out, but he has dropped a little bit of time to LaValle. And it's about
he dropped half his lead, which generally speaking says to me that he had a little bit of a bobble off a corner.
Managing to keep it on the way. I will say with that 35 is, well, just as we say that, looking a little bit unsettled, but I was going to say it's looking more and more fierce in the rearview mirror was that Audi, and we know how good that car can be around here in the hands of some of the drivers we've seen at RCI. And Tyler Jason LaValle, who promoted himself from silver to pro this season, from last season, doing great things in it as well.
Well, if you're not familiar with Kyalami in South Africa, let's take a drive. Turn 1 called the Kink in the straightaway, and then, of course, turn 2 Crowthorne, and then Jusky Sweep, which is the 3-4 section, and then Barbecue, the hard 90-degree left-hander, still climbing up the hill, mind you, just as you run into sunset. Well, no sunset tonight as this race started in darkness, but I promise you, had it done, it would have been a completely blind, sweeping right-hander, a carousel almost, and then into clubhouse number 7. You don't want to go too wide, and Tyler Jason
Oh.
LaValle does just that in the clubhouse, exiting and has a spin and is stuck there now. Has to get the car fired, has to make sure that they don't go into the racing line. This is in between clubhouse and the S's, and that's exactly what I was saying. Very difficult, and we'll use the grass there down into the S's now to not impede anybody's progress. Very professional move there. But through, shaking the car out there, trying to see what they have, but the S is done. And now up into Leacop, the double apex turn 11 complex. And now we start the run down the hill all the way through Mineshaft now. Mineshaft, a fast left-hander. I reckon LaValle will probably go a little bit slower than usual, but no, looks up to speed as they get into the Crocodiles. A turn that everybody has a different opinion on what the best line is to get through. And then down to the most infamous couple of corners. Of course, you have Cheetah and then Ingwe, but he will not go through Ingwe this time as he is coming into pit, and that is unfortunate because we're about 5 minutes or so, 4 minutes now, short of the pit window opening.
Yeah, just obviously that the 35 believed that they could not continue on with the damage that they sustained. I'm going to assume that obviously we can't see it, but the 35 will have been definitely feeling it through the steering wheel and has decided to fix the damage now rather than potentially pushing and probably causing even more damage with another crash. So sad to see what happened to that car, so close to the pit window as well. So that promotes the 888 up to second briefly, who has managed to get himself a 15-second penalty as well.
Well, he has done, Ryan. And here we have it here, 15-second penalty for car 888. The 888 takes out car 67 into turn 6 on lap 1. We saw that, by the way, at the start of the race. No further action for an incident with the 39. It was deemed a hardware failure. It was obvious to them that it was a hardware failure, the stewards, so they did not assign a penalty. Of course, this is the 15 seconds for the 888. And that's how that ended up. That's Acesec that got taken out there. No further action between the 19, the 13, the 577, and the 23. The 19 makes contact with the 13, and nowhere for anyone to go. Drive through for car 52. 52 brakes very late, considering they were in a pack of cars, and they took out another car. Penalty elevated to drive through because it was on the first lap. So that occurred. Racing incident between the 101 and the 67. 5-second penalty for car 19. 19 takes out 577. And a warning for car 101 for causing avoidable contact with the 119. I think we saw that a little bit ago. And those are all the penalties that Glenn has turned into me so far. It is very strange, Mawson, isn't it, to have stewarding for Night Owl, but we definitely appreciate it. It's I think it's changed a little bit of the racing too.
Yeah, because all of these drivers now, maybe in the first sort of couple of rounds, people were trying to see what they could get away with, what you could push to the limits for, but everyone now knows that you cannot escape the eye of the stewards. There's so much that even we missed, but somehow these people are on it like hawks, and yeah, making the racing cleaner, making it sometimes that more interesting for the drivers who do get a slap on the wrist. It changes the standings so much that live that we can see on the track, and yeah, I think it's really changed the dynamic for this season. Oh, and that's the Bentley off. That's the Bentley round. No, in fact, no, not round. Uses the wall to keep it pointed straight. 34, that is Magazi, and it's another touch into Cheetah. You can see it unsettled the rear, manages to catch it just about. You can see we turn in the yellow sausage curb, touch it, uses the wall to straighten the rear end.
Oh, that's such a good save. The big brain move there by Magazi, the using the brakes to keep the car from smacking into the wall head on, but pancake it almost. It's definitely a tactic you can use to minimize the damage. And
And that
that's very well held there. I know there was contact, but that self-preservation kicking in there, and that's a driver knowing his car, being able to save it. And now Chris Vining, who whatever issues Vining seemed to have had there for a few laps, seems to have, as mysteriously as it appeared, seems to have disappeared.
Yeah, the 101 now back up to racing pace, it seems, and once again looking quite planted. The 101 that we saw at the start of the race, and yeah, just had that weird off moment. Maybe it was just that car's time. It wasn't happy for a lap or two, but it's got over it now. It's decided that we shall go racing. But yeah, the 34 is quite a strange car as well. That I've seen some people comment about this car when you've driven it around Kyalami, because obviously the 34 is the Bentley. That is basically the only right-hand drive GT3 car, and a lot of people say that Cheetah for them is harder because you're on the wrong side of the car. I find it easier because you can see Cheetah that much more easy. And we talked about who might be some of the first people in. Alex Rogers dips out of that train to come in and serve his mandatory stop, as
Oh
well as
no!
Renoir's
That's
backwards in
Ryan
the pit.
Renoir. Oh, this is so bad. There's nothing they
Whoa.
can do. Renoir is going to have to back up, give space, and this is, I mean, folks, this is the best you can do. Ryan Renoir. Everybody else is going to have to fit through the gaps. I probably wouldn't have moved right there, but he's trying. Oh, that's right. It doesn't matter. I don't think they know that in pit lane because obviously ACC has the same pitting technique as Assetto Corsa did, where you ghost when you hit the line. But I don't, it's such an uncommon thing. You saw everybody slow down and try to avoid them. Certainly not something you typically encounter. But let's see. Oh, yes, right before they get to the line, Madre hit Ryan Renoir and spun him. Had that occurred literally a meter in front of where it did, that wouldn't have happened. They would have ghosted through each other. That is incredibly unlucky.
Yeah, just two cars coming in at the same, and that's sometimes the hardest thing to manage is when you've got, if you're, when you want to come in and the car in front dives in, you've got to match their braking, which is all that little bit harder. You don't know what the driver in front's going to do, and where I've seen very similar sort of near misses and accidents that have all occurred, and well, sadly, it was one that happened today. And that's another car in front dipping off. In fact, more and more, that's Ryan Meenan. That's the number 5 coming out of the 4th place for their stop. And the 29 of Retendito, who is being promoted up to P2 in the silver class in that 29 Bentley. They're coming in as well.
Well, we asked the question who would be the first in. That was the first time by for the leaders a lap ago, and a bit of chaos in the pit lane. We don't often see that, and usually when we do, it is speeding, not so much spinning. Well, that is what we have seen take place here. And for Benjamin Heilman, I'm going to be quite frank with you. It doesn't really matter what he does. This race has been handed to him. I feel like he had the pace to win anyway. But I feel like the race was handed to him. All of his rivals have been sort of dispatched with either by penalties or incidents. So easy to do either. And speaking of penalties, they keep coming in now. As racing incident between the 101 and the 34. Chris Vining is a very popular man. He's going to continue as much. 15-second penalty for car 101, taking out the 199. I believe we saw that incident earlier. And of course, warning for car 199 for not holding brakes while spinning in the middle of traffic. This was increased to a 5-second penalty due to it being the second warning. Some of the warnings can scale into penalties, and they've elected, well, they have to. It's not that they've elected, they have to do that in that case. That's all related to the same incident, by the way. The 101 and the 199. No further action between the 131, the 29, and the 732. Oh dear. Well, I was hoping, and I talked to the stewards earlier. I was hoping they would have a easy night. Well, they certainly haven't. Pit stops continue.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit of another bit of a crazy one. And speaking of craziness, Jordan Daly, we see the sparks fly from the 197, trying to launch it up the inside of the
Oh, little slide.
577. They're side by side coming up to Cheetah. This is not an area you want to go too wide. They just about make it through. They do. 197 getting in front of the
Mom, get the
577.
camera.
Pretty much. Obviously, Jordan Daly, that 197, has already completed their pit stop. They don't want to be held up at all. They are rocking and rolling in that Honda. Places to be, positions to gain.
Do you want to know something? The last driver, and I kid you not, this is just all poetic at this point, and I promise you, the last driver that I ever saw pull off a move that daring in Cheetah was Jordan Pepper in a Bentley. Jordan Pepper, of course, raced with us in a race or two that I commentated with, and I saw him do that, and I thought, "There's no way." And of course, Jordan Pepper, a professional racing driver, a 12-hour of Bathurst winner, in fact, with Bentley. And I was like, "There's no way anybody's going to be able to do that." And Jordan Pepper did that. He was relatively new to ACC at the time, but knew his own car, obviously, and knew that that was possible. Jordan Daly, and what I was talking about earlier, though, Mawson, this there's something up with this Honda. Though he may be gaining positions, he's also wasting a bit of tire, don't you think, sliding around?
A little bit. The IGTC track, I always liken this car on the IGTC bop. This car feels like the engine is too fast for the chassis. Like you take it to a regular, not a normal non-IGTC track, and it feels a bit typical Honda. It's okay, but it is nothing to wow you or to to really make you smile. Here it feels like they got the turbos, turned the boost up to maximum, and then just took those restrictors off and went, be free, V6. Because you put your foot down and the thing rears up and it kicks and it bucks at you, the rear end sliding. It's really quite a scary car to drive, I find. And the people who can master it, I've seen some really quick Honda drivers you don't expect. Some of the great Bathurst races that we've seen where the Honda has dominated, but having a car that's strong at the track is only half the battle. You've got to be able to battle it.
Oh
And
dear.
speaking of battling it, double teammate battle now.
I don't think there's any team orders going on here. The Ryan Mawson fan club going toe to toe here. Looks like Ted's going to get the pass
And the Honda's
done.
coming.
And oh, he's going to invite Norton into the inside. Can Norton pull it off? How many times have we seen the door be left open and the third car in the line also takes advantage? That's what happens on this occasion. And now McConnell's going to be furious because Norton in the 12 has gained a position as well.
Yeah, there you go. Not in the 12. Saw that the door was going to be left open as McConnell had already, by long time, they're committed to the outside line. And that Honda just boosting by. And now he's looking even that he's going to have the 95 of Ted Edwards. You can see that car is really right up. Looks to the inside, but nothing to be had coming into the S's. And that will once again bring the 23 back into it. You can see what happens as you're the middle driver. If you go for a move and it doesn't pull off even a look, you will just invite the car right up, and that's the 95 up ahead. Ted Edwards have a small slide. Can the 12 capitalize? No, he cannot. But coming down into Mineshaft, we'll have a look. Ooh, it's ducking and diving inside.
Oh,
Nope.
It's so close.
95, the Ted Edwards says nope, and he's off.
Oh, and that's going to put McConnell back up into that position. He's going to get one of them back, but that all that does is Ben Norton now is gone. Norton is out of here, and look at the log jam behind him. Is that Jelinek? It is. It is Jelinek. It's Jelinek Renoir. And they are now at the back. It was half of a lap. It was a half a lap of fighting, and that literally closed up a 1.5 to 2 second gap behind them. And now it is all one big party, a party that nobody wants to be invited to. Meanwhile, Norton's gone. He is about a second in the lead, and we only have a few cars left to pit, and it's just as well. The pit window ending, only 10 minutes they had. The leader, Samir Foch, as well. into pit lane. We saw Savalainen pit, who apparently didn't lose that position to leader, which is interesting. Leader still has to pit, by the way. And where is the 13? Will the 13 get to pit lane? Yes, indeed. There
They will.
is James Leader, PSR team, coming into the pit lane with 30 seconds to spare. Excellently timed. Blue was pointing out that we've seen that backfire in the past, and well, it certainly could have done. We've seen cars get spun on what would be their in lap, and that slows them down enough that they violate the pit window, which is ultimately frustrating for a lot of reasons.
Speaking of, the 577 hasn't made it to the pits yet. 3, 2, 1. The window is closed. Oh, they might have just sneaked that. They
Well,
might have squeaked that by the absolute skin of their teeth.
well, we're about to. Okay, I'm gonna. Nope. We are gonna assume that did happen. The 199 has been given a drive-through penalty, Madre, and has decided that that's just enough racing in South Africa for one night. And he has, in frustration, slammed his car into a barrier and left the track. That's bonk number 2 from the booth. But, uh, but well, folks, you wouldn't believe it had you not seen it. That pit stop counted, apparently, Ryan Mawson. No penalty.
That 577, he must have been within, like, we're not talking a second, we're talking tenths of seconds that he came in when that pit window
Imagine
closed.
the grin on his face.
I don't know if it would be a grin or a new change of underwear. That was close. Like even for me, I know I've heard pushing the limits, but there's trying to get everything you can, and there's that. But somehow for that 577 still manages to make it. So, well done to them, I will say.
We are, of course, reading chat as always at Night Owl. I'm reading some of the comments here. Stone, otherwise known as Harry Conway, says they call that the Lebrec. And Nor Hendricks says South Africa, we call that the Labrai. Oh, it's very funny indeed. I'm glad you all are having fun as much as we are. We definitely do enjoy our sim racing. We can tell we take it super serious around here.
Very, very serious. And speaking of, that's the 23. It's another touch into Cheetah. Keeps it
Stop
on the
trying
road
to pet the
once
cheetah,
again.
Ted Edwards.
The amount of drivers though that have touched Cheetah this race and kept the cars going. Normally, that is a monumental crash if you dare go anywhere near that sausage curb. It takes no prisoners and it is monumental in size. You don't really notice it until you're just about to hit it. Is usually the time you notice the size of it. After you've committed to the turn in, you think, oh, that curb's quite big. That.
Well, we saw the 199 wave the white flag after being given a drive-through for the pit incident. Of course, the 199 turned the 732 of Renoir, and that's what the penalty was for. So a drive-through for the 199 taking takeout into the pit lane is what they determined happened there to Ryan Renoir. And the 199, of course, in frustration, decided to park the car. They had a previously pending penalty as well. So frustrating night for Madre. And the 5-second penalty for car 427, causing a collision with the 12, leading to the takeout of the 23. And a racing incident deemed between the 199 and the 34. And that is all up to date on all of the steward decisions. It has been a second busy night in a row for those lads over there.
Yeah, so they came into this championship head on, and the drivers are definitely giving them something to do. This is the 34 Magazi passing the 13 Porsche, I believe that is. Yep, that is the 13 of leader. Magazi obviously fixed the damage in the pit stop that he got from self-preservation and taking himself into the wall, coming out of Cheetah. It was either that or a much more damaging spin. So they're just trying to work their way back through the field. But we've seen the pace of that Bentley. They were all the way up before as well, fighting with Samir Foch, the 888 Bentley as well. So I think that car's definitely got some more in the tank yet.
Please do interrupt me if something happens, but I got to point out something that head steward Tom Bryant posted, and I think Phil actually made this. I'm pretty sure Phil Roberts, RCI steward and driver, of course. He renamed all the track corners here at Kyalami based on recent events here. For instance, turn 7, where we saw Stewie go off in qualifying earlier, has been named Tom Corner based on the sheer amount of times we've seen Tom Bryant go off in there in recent weeks. I thought that was pretty interesting. He renamed Leocop Hairpin of Despair, and a couple of my other favorites, and the reason I bring this up is because it was mentioned in chat. Cheetah was renamed to Curb of Death. We've made several mentions to the Curb of Death, though Conway is now calling it the Kebab of Death. Too much Vindaloo on that, I suppose. But he's named, like, turn 2, yeah, is called Yeet Curve. It's turn 5, Barbecue, adequately named the Where's My Breaking Point. And of course, all these names perfectly fine because we've seen people miss their breaking point in Barbecue today. And also the S's was renamed to Sandcastle S's. And again, we've seen people make sandcastles there tonight. So well done, all of the stewards. Certainly we're not bored pre-race.
Now, in turn 13 is the corner of a million lines, which is absolutely correct. And, well, once again, if you're playing that drinking game, you better get that shot glass out, because that was another bonk that we had.
That was bonk number 3, folks. But yeah, I mean, they named it appropriately. We're going to see what happens here. Ted Edwards, I'm pretty sure, is going to get a little bit of a bonk, and does a little bit of a bonk from behind. I think that's Jelinek, in fact. A little bit of a touch. But yeah, all those things that the stewards or Phil named those turns, we've seen happen tonight. So well done, you.
Exactly. So SRO and the other and track owners and all that, you don't need anyone else to do your tracks. We can sort out all the naming for them, all of events that have happened in RCI races, and I'm sure we could have some hilarious corner names. I would like to propose that we call Eau Rouge the Mawson Curve, considering the last time that we had the charity race there. I remember going completely into the wall there sideways. And speaking of completely sideways into the wall, that's the 732 of Renoir. That is very broken Mercedes.
I have never seen so much damage in my life. I've never seen the hood of the car do that where it's that crumpled up. I think we're in Leocop.
That is.
Yeah, we are in Leocop now.
Broken.
We're going to see here what exactly happened. Please ignore the mirror. The mirror is live. The replay is, well, a replay. So do not mind that. So we made it through Mine Shaft. We're in the Crocodiles now. He's all alone as far as we're aware. And here he comes into Cheetah. Okay, yeah, a little bit loose there. And, a full-on hit into the wall. Massive impact, but Mike Jones pointed out something I was getting ready to say. At least the most difficult corner on the entire track is right next to pit in.
And
well, there you have it. That car is, as we would say, done.
I think that is kiboshed. You're definitely going to need more than some teacup to make that happy again.
Of course, we'd like to thank all of our partners that make this race and every race possible. Race Department, AK Informatica, Driver 61, Fanatec Sim Racing GP. You can get some driver coaching on the cheap by using our code over at Driver 61. Get yourself in better race shape. It's guaranteed to make you a better driver. And while you're down there, why not join our Discord? Get involved. If you're interested in sim racing, in ACC and Race Room, and more sims to come, in fact, we have splits for you. Doesn't matter if you're an esports pro or a just brand new beginner, we have a split for you. You can get into competitive racing immediately. Join the Discord, get involved. We would love to have you. And of course, a big thank you to all of you that stay up late on Saturday nights and listen to Mawson and me chatter on about well, whatever it is we chatter on about, usually some motorsport. So thank you for that. And we invite you to like, subscribe, hit the bell. Don't miss a single race. We'll be back with you for the Monday championship finale, the Euro GT finale. Ryan Gill and myself on the call of that. You won't want to miss it. And well, it's been a race that has been all Benjamin Heilman. We've barely talked about him in the past 15 to 20 some minutes simply because his lead is great. His Porsche is way out in front. And despite being half a second away from the next nearest car at 1 point, it is now 9.6 seconds. As a matter of fact, all the leaders have several seconds between them. Heilman, Savalainen, and Rogers, your podium. Cormac Ryan Meenan up into fourth place, and Samir Foch in fifth, even after the penalty. Nathan McConnell coming in for an additional stop.
It looks like that is a drive-through given to the 26. And we'll see what happens. Was this just coming into the pit lane, I think? Or was this another touch into the cheetah? It does not look like it. Just into the pits.
Killing Ryan Meenan has joined us in chat saying that no, there's enough racing. Well, you know, Killian, a staple of many of the championships that we see, or many of the championships that we do. Typically speaking, if you turn up to some of the bigger ones, Killian, I think, is one of the guys you have to consider beating if you want to win the whole thing, and been going well for him in the Friday champ. Thomas Jelinek, though, continuing to try and get by Ted Edwards to no avail, and that will be frustrating for Thomas Jelinek, won't it? Considering this, even if he does make this pass, he doesn't get any points because they are in two different classes. We talked about Benjamin Heilman leading overall. Well, he is, of course, in the silver class, so he is the silver leader. Savalainen, Rogers, and Cormac Ryan Meenan are the silver podium, or excuse me, the pro podium drivers. Renandito, Rindy Renandito has gotten themselves in that Bentley all the way up into sixth place overall, second in silver, and this man, Thomas Pierce, in third place in that class. The current running order rolling across your screen now. Anything there jump out at you, Mawson?
At the minute, we've seen a couple of the drivers that have struggled, the pros that are perhaps down the back half of the field. Like I say, you've just got a couple of the silver drivers who are really showing what they can do today. And Chris Vining with that 101 that looks so strong for quite a while, dropped off, then came back and has possibly dropped off a little bit again. Still within the top 10 and fighting Pierce, the 131, his fellow Ferrari friend. But it's been quite an up and down race for the 101. We saw in practice how he did phenomenally, and just maybe didn't have it in qualifying. It's quite a strange car, I'd say.
Well, that was going to be my observation. Took the words right out of my mouth. I have no explanation other than certainly there must have been at some point something up with that car, and it hasn't done them any justice here. Back down into the ninth place, Chris Vining in the 101. Meanwhile, Thomas Pierce, who we mentioned earlier, is not under any threat from anyone racing in his class, but that does not matter. Vining will want this position back. It's a matter of pride now. And I got a question for Killian Ryan Meenan in chat. Do you cheer on your brother whenever you're not racing against him? I'm curious to see if that's how it works in the Ryan Meenan family. Or are you here to make fun of him one way or another? We'll accept either one.
Yeah, it's that there's sometimes like that in it. I know there's quite a few drivers who I would cheer on if I'm not racing, but when they turn up and they're on the same track as me, I always think, "Oh God, you again!" Like not that long ago, the CHSR Championship that I also run in was actually that's the 95 off at the appropriately named Yeet Curb, though that was far too much Yeet from the 95.
I love how our our steward team is almost Nostradamus at this point, able to predict what's going to happen in a race that hasn't happened yet. Yep, just
Ooh.
straight up yeeted the curb, contact there, nowhere to go for the Bentley of Jelinek, and that is going to be very frustrating indeed for all parties involved. Ted Edwards getting a, or was that Ted Edwards?
That
I
was
think
Ted
I saw
Edwards.
yes, that was a 95 on that car. I thought, but yeah, Ted Edwards getting contact with Jelinek there, and oh boy, I got to tell you, Kyalami has been one tough mistress this evening.
Yeah, absolutely. It is that kind of track, though. It is such a technical track, and it really puts a strain on you, even after as a little stint as say an hour, where we've seen some of the endurance races that we do here, and some teams that do really long stints. Even after an hour around here, you can't ever take your eyes off the prize, and one small mistake, even though there's what appears to be quite a lot of room to play with, it will send your race absolutely tumbling down. And for Chris Vining, who's now trying to recover his race, still trying to get around that 131 of Pierce. But it's even harder when you're matched cars. There's nothing that you can sort of use against them. You can't, like if you're racing a Porsche, you can't use the speed advantage you have, or if you're a Porsche, you can't outbrake them, you can't outhandle them. This is matched machinery. It is up to the drivers to sort it out themselves.
And that's the most fascinating thing about it, isn't it? You get to see it, not only a driver's weaknesses, but perhaps a setup's weaknesses. Neither one of these flinching for the past little while. We're going to do something we don't normally do here, but because it's Night Owl and it's our own staff, and because Mike Jones told me to do it, I'm going to do it anyway. We're going to talk. We're going to talk to Jordan Daly, who's had an up and down day, and well, we have Jordan Daly down here with us now, currently competing in the race in 13th in the overall standings, running sixth in class in the 197. Jordan, you've had a interesting race. You've had to dodge some incidents. You've had to race some people that are all in your class tonight. How's your night gone from the driver's cockpit?
Yeah, it's not been so bad. I mean, it were better than last week's race, I suppose. I like Kyalami. Last time I were racing here were a 24-hour race actually, so I've had quite a bit of experience here now. The car feels comfortable, and yeah, I'm just trying to crack on with my race.
We've seen some of the Hondas show a little bit of instability tonight, and Ryan Mawson talked to the fact that a lot of places, or here specifically, the cars feel like they have a giant engine and a too small a chassis to support it. Any of that in your car?
I've not. I don't know. I haven't really felt anything. I don't know. It feels pretty comfortable. Yeah.
Well, I got to ask you. This might be the first ever live interview you've ever done. How is it talking and driving? Are we distracting at all?
No, I do enough talking. I'm having a slide now, but I do.
He's live.
Yeah,
Jordan
I do a lot of
Daly
talking.
is live commentating his own lap.
Yeah,
Well,
you'll see that slide.
Jordan, I gotta say, it's been a little bit of a slide there. I gotta tell you, it's been a pretty brilliant drive for you today. I mean, will
Yeah, I'm
you be
impressed.
happy with your position?
Yeah, definitely. I didn't expect to be this high up, to be honest.
I
As
see.
you can see from qualifying, I weren't I would say that were the best I was getting out of the car, but from the few incidents, I think that's helped me gain some positions. So, 1 to me.
Well, I tell you what, Ryan Mawson wants to shout some things at you, so we're gonna throw it down to Ryan. Ryan, you got something for Jordan, who's trying to talk, drive, and concentrate at the same time.
Talk, drive comms, and drive and manage to drive that Honda around. Well, leader's only 4 seconds up the road. Do you still think that you might be able to catch that Porsche?
I'm not sure. I don't want to say yes and no. No, I'm comfortable where I am. Like I say, I didn't really expect to be where I were, so no, I'm happy where I am. If I get there, I get there.
Well, any result that you're happy with is a good one at Kyalami, but 4 minutes left. Pretty much just got to bring it home now, I'd say.
Yep. Anything can happen now. Tires are going off.
Well, I got a question. I got a question for Jordan, real quick. Are you aware of the calamities that have happened behind you? Sizek, Edwards, McConnell, Jelinek, Renoir. Are you aware of any of that as you're driving around, or is that just you just notice they're behind you and you don't think too much on it?
Well, I do talk to McConnell during racing anyway, so I'm updated on what's going on with him. But other than that, no, I've been unaware. Just been trying to crack on with my own race, really. It has been pretty silent in chat, to be honest, because we've all been trying to get our head down. I'm sat here sweating buckets, to be honest.
Well, it's been chaos all around you, Jordan. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm serious. There's been crashes in the pit lane. Your mates, Edwards and McConnell, have been racing each other really hard. Some of the pros that are behind you have just had a terrible race. They've been spun. There's been issues with Cheetah Curb as per usual, and chaos all around you. Yeah, chaos all around you, but you remain solid. Good job.
Yeah, thank you.
We're going to let Jordan finish the race in peace, and a very strange insight that you don't normally get. You're never going to see that on F1, are you, Ryan?
No, and like I said, surprising how this driver can manage to commentate on their own, still drive around, and still have fun. And like I said, at the end of that as well, they're very happy with their positions. Jordan Daly, and you know that's half of the racing, isn't it? So long as you're happy with the position, it doesn't really matter. Some people are just happy to see that checkered flag. I know sometimes that I've been like that. It's not about where you finish. If you finish the race, it's all well and good. Like I remember doing some of the the 12 hour of Bathurst endurance, for example, that RCI held. When we finally crossed the line in our Bentley, we didn't do overly great, but it was nice to finally see that checkered flag after 12 hours.
Well, I couldn't have said that better myself. Well, I told you something about 10 minutes ago that turns out to not have been true at all. I said that all the podium positions were pretty solid, and mind you, they were at the time.
Now it's all gone. It's all come undone for the 100. Savalainen, and he's got Rogers right behind him. 2 minutes to go. It's about, well, where Heilman is. That will be coming up to the line. He will sneak 2 laps. So for Alex Rogers, he's got 2 more attempts to get around the 100, and for Savalainen, he's got that very angry 119 Aston Martin to defend from.
Well, we'll have to see if he needs 2 laps here. He's approaching it very calmly at the moment. Savalainen and Rogers fighting over that second position, and as they continue, just one other thing. Keep in mind, Samir Foch came into this race leading this championship, didn't qualify exactly where the 888 would have wanted to, immediately made contact, got that penalty, was back into the field at one point, now back up to 4th place. If Samir Foch does go on to win the Pro Championship, this will be a day that I'm sure that Samir looks back on and goes, oh man, it could have all come undone that day, but it didn't. We ended up finishing fourth, and I mean, fourth place points, all told, fantastic result. But these two, of course, Savalainen and Rogers, fighting for the second place position. And I talked a lot about Foch finishing, excuse me, they're fighting for second overall, but they're actually fighting for the lead in pro. And actually, Foch is on the pro podium. So everything I said except Samir in third place. This could be the day that he looks back on either way. Well, this is for the pro win. And, well, basically, one more lap to go. Benjamin Heilman about to come to the line. 10 seconds left, gets under the lights, and it is one lap to go. Benjamin Heilman pretty much assured victory, but who will win in pro, Savalainen or Rogers? Let's find out.
And then we've got so many other battles going down. Looking at the timing board, there's quite a few people who are a few temps between each other. 119 looking up the inside of turn 2, but it's not the 100 holding his line there, just using the torque that you've got out of that 6.3. What can Alex Rogers do? It's so hard when you're following a car this close, and that was a little bit wide. You can see the 100 now just pulling away. It makes it that little bit harder if he's going to do any kind of move. I think it's going to have to be either the bottom of the hill coming out of Mineshaft, or if you can really have a fantastic run through the S's, maybe the top of the hairpin. But I think if you can't get by either of those two, I think it's the 100 today.
Well, I'm not Jedi Jake Boswell, but I am expecting a late braking maneuver, but I don't even know if Rogers is close enough to do that anymore. Savalainen perhaps found a bit of another gear, but no, that is the send up into Leah Kopp there. That is exactly what I expected to see, and now drawing back just a little bit of that position, the in-car cam of Alex Rogers, the It's Coming Home 119 Aston. A couple of corners to go down Mineshaft and now into the Crocodiles. Really close indeed. Could this potentially be a send coming up to Cheetah? 2 turns left to go. Won't get a chance to send it here, but in the final turn, is there a send coming to get the checkered flag? Heilman has won the race overall and won in silver for a second win of the season. Nothing doing. Savalainen wins in pro. Rogers second, and Foch with an excellent race is going to finish third in class. Cormac Ryan Meenan in fifth, fourth overall. In this, Chris Fining fighting a silver car, but gets the position nonetheless, 11th place. Ritnandito, who we didn't talk about much at all today in the 29 Bentley, does come home second, gets a boatload of points in silver. And Tom Oddie in the 69 Lamborghini is going to finish third in silver. An excellent job by Big, what is that? Is that Big Tunk Racing? He's racing for, but an excellent result for him. Payne Magazi 7th and 8th. Pierce, the final driver, inside the top 10. Vining finishes in 11th, but will likely be moved down due to the penalty. Leader Daly, Norton, Sizek, McConnell, Edwards, Zubik, Jelinek, Alari, Renoir. The 21 drivers that will see the checkered flag. Here is Ted Edwards, who will be the last driver to finish the race.
Yeah, and what a race it's been. We've had some crazy moments, some hot heated crashes, and yeah, what a race. And for this man right here who's just joined us, Stewie, what a phenomenal performance in that Porsche.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know. I was expecting the Audi behind me to overtake me in a few laps, but then, well, he killed himself. Then Fogg was also a bit quicker, at least it looked like it, and he had the 15 seconds penalty, so yeah, I could just pretty relaxed drive it off to the end. I don't know. I didn't expect to win, to be honest.
Kept it calm, kept it cool, and that was half of the battle here. Plenty of accidents all around tonight that have allowed you to escape with it. Like it says, be really great for your championship. The 35 did look like they were hassling you for quite a while before they had developed a case of the Audis. Was your Porsche just as stable tonight?
Yeah, until like the last 10 to 15 minutes, I didn't have any issues. I think I had one slide earlier, but the setup, I don't know. I think it's pretty great because I can take most of the curbs, for example, the one where the Audi flew off, or the ones, how's it called, going down the crocodile. I can take the curbs without spinning the car. So I'm not really on the edge with the car, so it's fine, I guess.
Stewie, there's a lot of talk about people, or a lot of talk about you from a lot of people, not only in our chat but in sort of our private chat as well, about you being a pro. You've said now for quite some time that you don't feel like you have the consistency to be a pro driver. Well, a win overall, your second win in class of the season, is that changing your mind at all?
Maybe a bit, but the thing is, like, the reason why I decided to go silver again was last night all season. I'm not doing a lot more racing than the night all races, so I could only measure myself on these races. And there were a lot of people that were way quicker. I think Renoir, that is in this season as well, was always quicker. Conway was always quicker. Fogg was always quicker. So I just took these races as a measurement, and for some reason they're all slow now. I don't know.
Well, I can promise you Renoir is going to not appreciate you calling him slow, considering I think he's had 3 races in a row with an incident that took him out. So, but I'll let you and Ryan fight that out. But Stewie, I am here to tell you, and I'm pleased to announce that we have made the executive decision live on stream, if I'm honest. You are a pro driver next season. Congratulations.
Yeah, I think for next season I would have made that decision myself as well.
Well, too bad we made it for you. Stewie, the winner of the race overall. I'm just kidding, folks at home, by the way. Stewie, again, a developer for us here at RCI, a fast driver and a broadcaster as well, winning overall in silver here today. Another win in final question, Stewie, genuinely. Championship, is it on for you? I don't see anybody that can stop you.
I mean, it depends on the other 2 tracks, I think, because Pierce came 4th this race again, and it was actually quite close after Spa. I think it was only like 20 points. And we don't have a drop round this season, so I'm not 100% sure on the championship yet. I need to survive the 2 races and have a good position.
Well, there you have it, Stewie, the winner of the race. What a day, or what I should say, what a night it was. It was hot action in the dark. We had spins on track, spins in the pit lane, battles, fenders, and possibly some bent feelings as well. 2 races to go. Join us next weekend for round 4 of 5 of the Night Owl Championship. We'll be back with you on Monday for the finale of the European GT Masters Championship. Ryan Gill and myself on the call for that one. And we invite you to join us on Friday, of course, with the Friday Championship. I think that's going to be Mike Jones and me for that particular championship. We hope that you have a fantastic rest of your weekend. Ryan Mawson, close us out.
Well, until the next time.